and welcome out there. It's the Holy Hour Podcast, the All Cure bi-weekly podcast. And boy, do we have a great show for you guys out there tonight. We got Donald and Chaz joining me. How you doing, fellas?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up, guys?
Hey. So, yeah, we're really hoping to come at you with this nice kind of almost celebratory of like what has been getting you through the last 3 months episode of music celebrations. And then the last, week or so, it kind of took another turn for the ugly, not even disease related. We don't really need to get into it all, but at the same time, it's all gotten kind of dark again, and you gotta love America, where our best way of distracting ourselves from a deadly virus is, murdering people in the streets, and then, it's looking kind of bleak again, but you guys hanging in there, right?
Institutional racism cannot go into quarantine, apparently. Can't put a mask on that. Well, they usually do wear just, different type of mask.
Yeah, true. Maybe
more like a little point. Yeah. I haven't been quarantined really. I've just been working. Not like I haven't. But I still go to work every fucking day, and it's like stressy as shit. Like, so like usually when I get home, I'm just kind of like mentally fried. Like see a customer not wearing a mask, and I'm like and like run off and like. And it was great. Like. When all this first started, I don't know, you got used to it. Like, I'd literally just get so freaked out. I'd just be terrified to go to work. So I'm like, I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to, like, kill a bunch of people just by breathing on them. And, like a couple times I, like, just threw up in the morning, just, like, before I went to work. And it's just like, oh, all right. It's so freaky and stressy. And, like, like, I was like, I wish I was fucking quarantined, Like, I wish I was stuck at home.
Well,
but
I guess
I'm not.
Yeah.
Not as freaked out anymore. Like, just be safe,
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do.
Exactly. And as it's all reopening up again, I guess now we're just at the stages of seeing where we go from here, and hopefully
back into quarantine.
Yeah, most likely. Yep. But, like we said with the last few episodes, we'll try to embrace the positive perspective. But yeah, I think I heard the awful sequel is in pre-production already. So
yes,
we'll see. They're already casting. So yeah, this episode, whether it be quarantine, I guess, is bad wording because of you guys being out there, still working in it and out in the shit. It's not so much quarantine jams that got you through it, but just music that has helped over this. And it's all, technically, I want to give the guy credit because I thought it was his idea on Facebook. Craig, or a guy on our Facebook page, had written in. He was the one that kind of got the idea rolling for the Cure Encounters episode, and just a great supporter of the podcast. And he had written me one, and maybe I was a few drinks in or something, and I totally misread what he wrote, thinking he was like, you should do an episode on like, the songs that you guys have been sort of talking about, but I've even been editing out a few when we get on kind of little tangents about some other band that isn't Cure related so much. And I was like, yeah, that would be good. Maybe we should just devote a whole episode to it, even if it's not a super Cure heavy episode, and just what we've been listening to and the music that's got us through. And he's like, well, that wasn't really what I was saying.
Well, that's what I understood.
Yeah, so it's still a great idea. But he was saying more direct Cure ups and downs throughout life, and the Cure songs that have gotten you through just hard times and stuff. So it's kind of in the same vein, but I guess my brain was focused on current events more, but we'll do that one too sometime. And so I still want to give him credit for this idea, and we thought it'd be cool to throw it out there. And we got a lot of cool contributions and write-ins, and one audio clip even, so it was very cool that we got some good feedback of what everyone's been listening to help you get through, because I think that's kind of the given that whatever our situation is, everybody's a little different, where you've been out working in it or just stuck at home losing your mind. It's hard to say even what's more dangerous at this point. The people that are just like staring at the news 24/7 or losing their mind too. So music always is a great crutch and therapy for everybody, I think. So it was kind of cool to see what everybody's been into. Of course, the Cure is going to be a huge part of that because we're all Cure nerds, I think. But at the same time, we wanted to see what people's non-Cure ones were too. So does that kind of sound like what you guys were on board? Or we, the three of us at least, on the same page?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
I never know anymore. I'm losing all ability to communicate with anybody.
Donald, what is he talking about?
I thought we were talking about another cartoon. But so yeah, I thought maybe we'd give a quick rundown of ours first, since we got this thing rolling, and didn't really stick to any absolute patterns, but picked a few albums that have been kind of just ones that maybe are a bit more mysteriously popping up over and over again, and stuff that we've been listening to. Hey, do you guys have a few in mind then, you think?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
man.
Cool deal. Cool. So maybe we should dive in unless you have anything else to add on the top.
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah. Is music usually your go-to form of therapy, though? I guess, is that a given that it really helps everybody? Or other people go to more like, I don't
Hard
know,
drugs.
hard drugs. Watching daytime soap operas. I don't know. What is it? Pretty safe to say we're all music nuts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my go-to. I like,
Yeah.
if my wife doesn't like, I don't watch. I don't have like my TV shows that I watch. I have.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna sit and have beers, chill out, listen to records. Like, that's what I do every single day. I can.
I don't know. Cool. You kind of in the same boat, Chaz?
Yeah, I pretty much always use music as a outlet, other than using like drugs and alcohol to
Yeah.
help, self-medicate and everything. So, yeah, so I've been, usually, when something bad happens in my life, there's always music that I can relate to it, or something like a concert or record shopping or whatever that I can relate to it. So,
Yeah.
Totally.
yeah, it's always there. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Cool.
and this is no exception.
Yeah, good show. Have you, I guess, before we dive into specifics for all of us, is there anything weird as far as patterns you've noticed? Like stuff that's drastically different than what you normally listen to? Or was it roughly the same kind of stuff? You just focusing on certain ones? Or was there any
Mine's a little different.
surprises?
Like,
Yeah.
like mine's a little different. Like, normally it's kind of a mix of like, like some moody, like kind of sad shit, or just like dark and mopey shit, or
Yeah.
spazzy kind of shit. But I don't know. It's different now.
Yeah. I was trying to even just go ahead, Chaz.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was in a totally different music mood until like middle of last week, when all this shit started going down.
Yeah.
And now I'm like in my like punk rock kind of
Yeah.
anti-authoritarian mindset now. So all I've been listening to is like fucking like Black Flag and
Right.
Dead Kennedys and Boy Sets
Yup.
Fire and a whole bunch of other like
Yeah, it makes sense.
angry shit, Rage Against the Machine, all the other shit.
Police
so.
brutality tends to steer a little
Yeah.
different than the looming deadly virus that's seeping in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I started writing out a playlist to go along with what's going on right now. And it's kind of stopped at one point, so I'm just like, I can't do this right now.
Well,
You know what's sad is eventually you'll just be to a point where it's like, this is happening again, and like just go to like pull up a file, like, oh yeah, I'll just use
My old-
last year's
Yeah.
police
yeah.
brutality.
police
playlist,
brutality and shit. Like, they're like, pandemic. Let's pandemic mix, honey. Sure.
Yeah, when we're rehashing our quarantine jams in the fall, and we're like, oh yeah, that was a good fucking mix. I'm gonna put that back on. That really helped.
Goes right next to the first breakup mix.
Yeah.
From,
Like, dead dog mix. Like,
It's like, I'm getting way too good at this. I have a mix.
yeah. I can pinpoint every one of my emotions through a song.
Awesome. Well, which one of you fine gentlemen would like to go first? Shall we draw the invisible straws, or anybody have a preference?
It does not matter to me.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll go.
let's go.
Donald?
yeah. So my mix, like I was saying, instead of like dark and moody stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I just had to I've been having to keep myself kind of pepped up and like woo, and I didn't really realize it
Uh-huh.
because I was kind of listening to like, you know, my kind of go-to like, oh man, like I'm scared mix, you know.
Yeah.
And but I just like I have to like, and like I said earlier, I've just been working through this whole thing, and it's just like really taxing emotionally, like just like being in fear constantly, and like, and I have to like, you know, I can't go into work mopey and shit, like
Yeah.
really have to like zazz my shit up and like rah, and kind of start raging, and like so like there's this band Yeesh, Yeesh, like Yeesh. They're from Chicago, and back when I had a band, we played a show with them,
Okay.
and they just like blew my fucking mind. Like, what a band! They were so exciting and like so much fucking energy, and they're just like, I don't know, like post-punk, but it's just, to me, it's just like quick-paced indie rock.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like tons of energy and like kind of a little math rocky maybe, like just like
Okay.
really interesting rhythms, and the guitar player just like fucking shreds. Like, it's just really unique style, and like this, and it's just quick, lots of just all over the fucking guitar. And
Right.
like one point they were playing and they're just like fucking kicking ass, and the guy drops to his knees just like full rock star shit, and was just like head back yelling, like wasn't even near the mic, and just like like shredding. It's like fuck yes, like woo. Really nice guys too. They toured in a like a Buick Roadmaster station wagon.
Nice.
It's like one of those big boys. And I was just like, man, I like these guys. And they gave me a demo, or not a demo, like a cassette EP. And I
Right.
just still listen to it all the time. But I recently found this record called No Problem. I think it's their first or second, and came out in like 2015. And it's just so fucking good. Like every song on it's like a blast, and there's like a couple slow, like really good, like kind of emotional jams, and a lot of just like freaking out. Guy has a great voice, lots of yelling,
Cool.
yelling from the heart.
Right.
But they're just so fun. And but that's literally like No Problem. Probably since the fucking pandemic, I've listened to it like every fucking day.
Nice.
And it's literally like after work, just kind of like woo, and just gets me going. And like sometimes I'll put it on back to back,
Nice.
like, which I don't know, I do sometimes, but not a lot.
Which album was
But-
this? The name of it?
It's called Yeesh, Yesh.
The name of the
And
album.
the album's
though?
called No Problem.
No Problem. There you go. Cool.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Cool.
Excuse me. And actually, I think one of the dudes works at Chicago Mastering Services, like where like, I think one of the dudes from Shellac owns it.
Okay.
It's like Obis, Gary Obis, I think, the Yeesh's bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they were actually he was actually gonna like give us a deal to like master our album that never came out, which I was like, whoa. And they mastered like huge records. Really talented dude. But my second band, because I just got so obsessed with this fucking Yeesh band, this band Stuck.
Stuff
it's
or
called
stuck?
Stuck, like you're stuck in something and you can't get out.
Okay.
And it's called Change Is Bad, and that came out in like April, actually,
Okay.
this past April 2020. And I was so excited, and it's the bass player from Yeesh.
Yeah.
But that fucking record is one of the ones like I listened to No Problem, and then I put on Stuck's Change Is Bad, like just back to back a lot. It's just so fucking peppy, in kind of the same vein as Yeesh.
Right on.
And I think they're it's a 4-piece, and Yeesh was a 3-piece, and it's just kind of the same, really rhythmic playing. Like
Is he
kind of
singing
little
now?
mathy.
The bass player? Is he the singer?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget. But yeah, but the guitar players was Stuck, really shred. Drummer's fucking hella tight. Bass player fucking whoops ass, and it's just like there's always something going on, you know? yeah, those have been just my two favorite fucking records. I can't stop listening to them. It's like I really need to listen to something else, but I'll put something else on. I'm like, fuck it, and put it on.
And just give in to the obvious choices, you know. It's like
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
And then my other,
and
these are. I like to listen to these before I podcast. I didn't today, that's why I'm kind of like, duh. But there's a fall record I have on cassette. It's a live one. It's called Seminole Live.
Okay.
And it's like Marquis Smith is just a fucking great poet. Like his lyrics are so fun.
Right on.
And they're kind of mystical. It's like it's poetry to me. It's just like, wow, like what a way to string weird shit together there, buddy.
Yeah.
And they're just a fun band. They're just like kind of sloppy, or they're fucking sloppy as shit. It's so fun. They're just like, they just go for it, man.
A little all over the place too. Yeah, I never really feel like I need to just pick a direction and work on them. Still, they're one of my ones I always have. Like I need to just listen to more of. You know, I have like the generic best of, but you know, it's like so much good stuff.
And the band changed. Like the band changed so much. Like, so always different, always new. And they've been doing it for fucking ever, so there's lots to listen to, and it's all pretty fucking different.
Cool.
But
you say that's a live album? Is it a?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a live one, and there's a song, song one of the B side, second side, is "Hit the North," and that's my jam. Like, that's what it really pumps me up, like to get hyped to podcast. That's my go-to song. Like I have to listen to it like a couple times and just like, woo, all right.
That's what takes so long to get on the air?
Pretty much. And like,
you gotta let this record finish.
I've only listened to it twice.
I know. Well, sometimes it takes a lot of tricking myself to talk to you dicks, you know?
You're telling me.
I don't know. On a side note, I've just been just checking out like random old like Manchester 90s. This is kind of my chill out vibe shit. Yeah. But I'll just kind of find like old mixes of like late 80s, early 90s, like techno from Manchester. Generally,
the Manchester scene.
Yeah,
got your baggies on and shit.
I know. I'm about to get a fucking bucket hat.
Nice. Yeah, all it's missing. It's like a popsicle in a like, Cure bucket hat. Sit there, oi.
Yeah.
Sweet. Any bands in particular from that, or yeah?
I'm usually really high and like
I don't even know which ones. Yeah.
But this is more just like I think like I don't know, like I dug into like I think like Prodigy's first record a while ago, and it was like I was really surprised because I never listened to it. I heard like their later stuff, and it was just pretty fucking chill. Like yeah, just like old DJ shit, like
cool.
Good little house jams. Like it's really fun.
What do you think it is about those? The like, you know, I guess it's like the pump you up escapism of the, you know, that kind of music more maybe, but like, you know, Yeesh and stuff. Is it something that's pulling out of those? You think? Is it more the just escape into the cool jams of it, or is it like tempo related?
It's more just like it really like it just draws my attention and like kind of distracts me in a way, I think, because they're, you know, pretty tricky bands. Like there's, like I said, there's changing rhythms, changing times, like changing parts, and it's just like you're like, ooh, I didn't expect that. Like, holy shit, why'd they do that? And it's just like out of the norm kind of changes too, and it, like I don't know, like I love like weird drum beats and jagged rhythms and shit. Like it just really works. Like
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
It's just like any music. It's a distraction for whatever you wanted to be distracted from. So,
cool.
But that's about it, man. Those are
Yeah, some solid choices. And then, yeah, that's kind of the thing, even looking over some listener contributions and those bands you mentioned, that's like the idea of like, I'm already like so pumped to check a lot of these bands out. You know, I think that's all
Yeah.
something that we all need is just constant new things, new old things, you know, like it'd be cool just to make our own, you know, discoveries based on these, hopefully. So that's kind of the
Heck
idea
yeah.
of this episode is hopefully everybody will get some new tunes out of this, whether it's something you're familiar
Yeah.
with or not. So
and I like it because it's like getting good recommendations. Hopefully good.
I don't
Yeah,
know
'cause
about
we're all-
that, but
Like we're all kind of connected. Like we're all doing this and listening for a reason. Like we're all into the kind of the same music, you know.
yeah.
Or you just
Yeah.
love my comedy. I don't know.
That's
Oh,
what
but
it
It's that secret elitist Cure thing. I think we all like. Well, we all love the Cure, so we know we have like way better taste than everybody else in the
yeah,
world.
there's,
So
there's gonna,
we all have that.
there's gonna be
common
some-
thread,
yeah, it'll be some commonality, I think.
Speaking of the Cure, anything in that realm? Just to stick with the theme of the show, has there been any? It's hard for us because we're always kind of looking at an era or pinpointing something. But has anything more than other Cure popped out? Has anything you've been listening to?
I put on Faith, and I was just like, like I can't. I turned it off. It was just like, it's
it's
much.
weird. It's a funny topic because that'll come up later. Where it's been surprising. It's like, do you go dark right now or not? You know, and it's
Right.
more people. It almost seems like there's more of a vote for pop Cure at this point. You know, it's like
Right.
I think everybody
Yeah.
has that like initial. What the fuck, and throws on Faith or Disintegration or Pornography, but then it's just like, I can't do this for 3 months, man. This is gonna
Yeah,
fucking
no way.
kill me, you know. It's
I haven't even looked at Disintegration. You know, it's like no.
cool, man. Shall we move on to Chaz then?
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Cool. What you got, Chaz?
So my listening music time has been cut drastically just because the kids are out of school.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's been filled with podcasts, and some music. But the podcasts I've been listening to have been Behind the Bastards, which is a podcast about basically the worst people in history. But a lot of people you don't even know of, which was cool. Or kind of like stripping back the myths of some of these people.
Right.
But I really enjoy that. I really enjoy the family that's not an actual family, but like the family of podcasts that came from that one podcast, like Worst Year Ever, which is a political podcast, and 420 Day Fiance. Which is two of these people just smoke weed and talk about 90 Day Fiance, which is one of my favorite trash TV shows ever. And that podcast is amazing and just hilarious. Even if you don't watch the show, it's still worth it. But yeah, and then a lot of true crime stuff. Probably too many to mention, but like
Right.
My Favorite Murder and Case Files are two that I like to listen to. Yeah, and then Your Mom's House and a couple other comedy ones.
Yo, that's one of my favorite podcasts. Is Your Mom's House.
Yeah. So, as far as music goes, so it's been like really interesting how my music has gone since the beginning of the quarantine, or the core as the kids call it. So I first started out, I'm just like, I'm gonna have a lot of time, so I'm gonna get into Sonic Youth,
Yeah.
and that never fucking happens. So, because we went into the 17 seconds discussion, and I started listening to that a lot, and then we got into the Roger album. And then I was just like, well, I'm into the Roger album. I got to get into, Godspeed You Black Emperor. So I listened to them for like 2 weeks, which wasn't good.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I started after we had that podcast. I
Yeah.
listened to a little bit of them, and I was like, had to get up and go like, nope.
but like personally for me, I need my music to match what I'm feeling. I'm not one of those people where if I'm depressed or upset, I'll listen to happy music. Like it doesn't do anything for me.
Can't break yourself out of it by listening to Spice Girls or some shit.
Yeah, some Chumbawamba and everything like that. So, but if I had to recommend a Godspeed You Black Emperor album, I would recommend. It looks like an F with like a hashtag, but it's F sharp A sharp Infinity is the name of the album.
Okay.
So that's my favorite album of theirs.
That's pretty solid.
I remember listening to that album like driving through a giant thunderstorm in Tennessee, and like it kind of went hand in hand with that. So, but that'll be for a different podcast. Depressed moments in our life with music.
Yeah.
So.
Go with the actual idea that Craig gave.
Yeah.
Right.
So then the next band I got off of Godspeed You Black Emperor. I go to this website called Sophie's Floorboard, and it has a ton of music on there that I get from my collection. So download a lot. So I just typed in Godspeed You Black Emperor, and this band called Have a Nice Life came up. And so I downloaded everything that they had, and I was stuck on them for about 2 to 3 weeks. And it's really fucking dark. It's got a lot of, it's got some Godspeed You feeling to it, but it also has like Joy Division kind of feel to it, like a whole bunch of shit like mixed together. But yeah, it's I recommended somebody to work, and they got into it too. So they're like, yo, that band was freaking sick, and I was just like, yeah. I was like, I think so. It's like a 2-piece band from like Connecticut.
Oh wow.
But
old 2-piece, nice.
Yeah, they have 3 studio albums, and I recommend all 3: Death Consciousness, The Unnatural World, and Sea of Worry. I just have it on shuffle on my phone. So I don't even know what album it comes from half the time, but I've pretty much been into everything that's come up when I'm listening to it. And then Gavin told me about a band that I listened to for a couple of days. What the fuck was the name of that band? Started with a D.
Yeah, it's like DIIV. I just found it's pronounced Dive, and they're actually one of the ones I was going to talk about too. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, they're kind of in the same vein. Like when you sent that out, it was like, the one you had sent out, I was like, I need to hear it more. But I was initially loving it because it is kind of like modern shoegaze more. You know, it's definitely got like a lot of elements of that, and I've been digging them too, man. So that's cool that it kind of goes hand in hand with that band. So.
I have one other band, and it's a band called Downhall. A little bit different, a little bit more poppier. Still a little has that like indie, like or mid '90s emo feel to it. With I don't know if you guys know the band The Smoking Popes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like the lead singer of The Smoking Popes doing this band. Maybe not as croony, but definitely like something I was really into and sent it to another friend. So yeah.
Downhall.
So Downhall. DOWNHAL. Oh, sorry. HAUL. So yeah.
And what am I supposed to do with that? But I won't reach out because I don't know how to. And that's something I've got to live with.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we're in the Smoking Popes a bit in the day. I liked them a lot.
Yeah.
We
saw him live once.
Yeah, Donald was always he was on the fence maybe a bit about that show. I remember you weren't totally sold on going, and we dragged him to it. He was like had to work the next morning, and like he was like, we enjoyed it enough, and he was like, I gotta drive home afterwards. And this was even like pre-drinking a lot days or anything. I think you were totally
because I knew I had to work the next day, so I only had a couple beers.
Yeah.
And Gab was out in the time, like out in the fucking sticks, and like. I like totally fell asleep and just ran
straight through
like
a stop sign into a hill.
There's like a T kind of a T intersection, and I was just
Yeah.
like, boom, and there's like a big hill, kind of a ditch, and I was just like, like
It's nuts.
just
You
flew,
should
I
have
literally
been
like flew up
toast,
in the air.
man. You were like driving like a Geo Metro or some shit, weren't you?
Yeah, and the fucking airbag went off and shit, and I just like drove it
Jesus
home. I'm
Christ.
like, whoa! I like just drove it home, and it was just like falling apart, and I was just like all shot. Like, what the fuck?
Your parents wake up
So-
and saw that in the drive.
Yeah, really, and they're like, but yeah, I fucking hate the smoking popes now.
Yes, it's like that.
I just
It's always
can't listen
that
to
show
it.
you
It's like,
kind of wanted to go to, but not really. It's like, yeah, that was worth it. Great, thanks.
You
man.
hear them now, and you just start having flashbacks and fucking
Oh.
PTSD.
Totally.
Exactly. Airbag going off in my face. But I mean, they're a fine band. They sent, I mean, they're great, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
just can't.
awesome.
It's hard for me to listen to them.
There's still a hole in that hill too. Every time I go home and drive past there, I still see that hole in the hill. It's like
Fucking
one of
I'm
those,
dug
sorry
a
I
big
brought
chunk
that
out
up
of
for
it.
it's
you,
one of
though.
those craters
I know.
on Normandy.
It was inadvertent.
But something I wanted to ask you is about length of like average kind of length of time that you're like listening to like an album every day. Because like mine is like, I was shocked, Chaz, because you're like, yeah, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like a couple days. Like my shit's like 5 months. Like
Like were you
You know,
obsessed
at
on
a
an
time.
album? You mean?
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
3 months. 3 months is kind of the average. Like what was that like fucking this past summer? It was Dinosaur Jr.'s "You're Living All Over Me."
Yeah.
I would have to listen to it every day when I got home from work. Just like get high, have some beers, like, and I ended up listening to it fucking twice a lot because it's just like, oh man, like, whoo.
Wow. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that at all, really. Like I very rarely, unless it's a new album and I'm just like really digging into it. Like I'm very like old stuff. It's always like just my go-to Hall of Fame, Cure shit or whatever. Like my
Yeah.
top 5 that I'm always just when I can't think of anything and don't want to think about it, I'll throw on one of those. But it's like I'm super ADD. I think that's why I like mixes and stuff too much too. Like playlist and stuff where I just want a little everything and I'm constantly like, I just heard that. And I'm like constantly sifting through it, which is. KC's that way. My wife will totally just like pick one album and that's like that month's album and it's just on in the car constantly or whatever. I'm just like, God,
yeah.
turn the fucking thing off. Like it is cool because you like really learn that album. Like
I
and
was
just
totally.
yeah.
I was gonna say like that's what I really like to do is just like I know, like every change, every part, every like just everything about it. Like I know when and every part kicks in, just like every drum hit, every guitar strum, every bass line. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I used to be that way, and I still can be from time to time. But a lot of it's just I don't have the time now. And like when I used to be driving like to work a lot, that would be my time, and I would just listen to the same thing over and over and over again. Like I remember a time when I was listening to that Dinosaur Jr. album like every day.
Right.
Nonstop. And
It's just in your car.
yeah. And the same thing with like Disintegration last year. I listened to probably for about 3 or 4 months, just
Yeah.
exclusively. Like that was the only thing. So, but like this quarantine's been weird, just because like with the kids being around, and like I made it a point to like do certain things musically that just haven't happened. Like Brooklyn Vegan put out a like top 25 screamo albums from like the late 90s, and
Yeah.
I went through them all and I'm like, fuck, I used to listen to every one of these bands, and it's like I don't have any anymore just because I sold most of my records. So like I just started downloading like all of them, and like this was literally like the month, like probably the week everything started happening. And so I just went on my iTunes and I have everything that I downloaded that I still haven't listened to. So I made it a point to do that and the Sonic Youth thing, and it just hasn't happened. So,
Yeah. It'll be there when you're ready.
oh yeah, absolutely. Sonic Youth's not going anywhere.
Again,
So yeah.
cool.
What about you, Gavin?
Well, I guess the best one to segue would be from what you mentioned, that band Dive, as we now know that they're
Yeah.
called, DIIV. And I quickly, just actually before we called, I was like, I better figure out how to fucking say this band. And
Yeah.
apparently there's a Belgian band named Dive, so they had to change their name to a weird spelling. It's one of those deals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
pronounced Dive. And Yeah,
I thought
it's
their
cool.
name was Div.
Yeah, I thought I was all like, is this like just a code for something? Or, yeah, who fuck knows?
I always thought it was Div.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was gonna go with it too. So
That makes way more sense.
yeah, it's got that long I. But yeah, I got tipped off from a Cure listener and writing tons of emails back and forth with who's super cool Jonah, and he just got talking about Cure stuff and and just threw it out there with that idea of like they're kind of a cool new take on shoegaze in a bit, and it was like I just knew nothing about him, apparently it's just this dude's kind of solo project. I guess he had done some other stuff, Zachary Cole Smith, and I didn't really want to dig into him too much because they seem younger, and I was just like, I'm gonna start hating them if I read too much about this dude because he sounds just kind of like they're in the thick of it. I think they just put out a newer album from what I gathered. Like this album that I've been kind of really dwelling on is our, which what the fuck does that mean? But
when I looked him up, I was like, I saw that Zachary Cole Smith, and I was like, is that the kid from like Home Improvement? Or?
Yeah, it sounds like some kind of Zachary Cole Smith. So it probably is because he sounds like they're all just like in the thick of rock stardom, whacked out on drugs. Like this album in particular, apparently they lost their drummer right before they made it. The bass player, he went into rehab right before they went into touring for it. And when he finally came out, the bass player said some crazy shit on the internet and they kicked him out or something. So I was just like, whoa. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I care that much yet to get into all their luggage there. But yeah, it's just really cool because it's like it's not really my kind of jam too, Like I'm not like a super shoegaze stuff. I always love it, but it doesn't stick with me because the catchiness and the songwriting maybe isn't there as much. I'm sure if you really dig in and strip them down, you could do like acoustic versions of My Bloody Valentine songs and shit. But at the same time, it's never been quite at the top of my list. Although I love the sound, I love and I feel like this new vibe. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but like these newer bands are kind of making it catchier in a sense too.
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
like these hooks and stuff on this, so it was still like I don't know what the fuck he's saying. The lyrics don't sound bad, but I'm not really like clinging to them. It's the guitar parts and shit.
That's your jam too.
Yes, I mean it's so it's kind of like whatever.
Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's like it's been fun. Like you're saying, hard to find time to really dig into music when you have the kids and you're doing them home lessons, and you can't really just sit there and just rock out an album as much, like. But it's funny.
No kids over here, bud. I can do whatever the fuck I
He's
want.
like, play Love Cats, and I'm like, well, I guess it could be.
I
worse.
hate that goddamn song.
But it's cool. We've been putting on this one actually, and he's been like humming along to all the guitar parts, like almost annoyingly, but at the same time, he's like,
Yo, Henson and I need to listen to music together again because that's what I do.
Yeah,
I'm a fucking 8-year-old.
I'm like, okay, man, let's just listen to it. Let's just back it up. But the fact that it's that
I want to listen to the
catchy,
song, not you, bud.
Yeah, exactly. It's like not while it's playing. You can do that. So yeah, I think I've been digging it just because it is a little outside of what I like, but it's still catching my ear a lot. So I'm curious, and I want to check out the other albums, but I've been really digging this one, which is apparently their second album. So I haven't heard the newer one, which is apparently a little harder, but.
I did. I kind of forgot, but I felt like I saw them live in DC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was them.
Cool. Like, is
I
the
think it was
headliner?
them.
Were they opening for somebody?
I think they were the headliner.
You just were like, whatever, I'm going. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of got dragged along.
Okay.
I was pretty fucked up.
No.
That wasn't them. They just had a D on the front of their.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's the only way to get Donald to live shows. You just have to buy him the ticket. Even going back to the Smoking Popes day, I was like,
that's exactly
just go to
what happened. It's exactly what happened when I went to this show. I'm like, whatever.
It's like, here, I bought
it was
you the
pretty good,
ticket.
man. Like,
cool.
yeah, it sounded good. Like,
Yeah, they seem like super rad and talented. Like, I just kept reading those little kind of little shit vibes out of them, where they're like, whatever, man, I'm in rehab, and I don't know. I just started picturing this kid with like Bieber hair or something. I was like, maybe I shouldn't dig too deep, but I just want to enjoy this album. So, who knows? But yeah, they seem pretty cool. I guess the other one would be one that it was weird. It's a local band, but I've never actually seen them live. Still, I think I sent you guys the link for that one. Is the Secret Shame. And they're like a very like Susie sounding vibe from Asheville here. A friend of mine was like, we should go see them. And I kind of was like, I got some shit going on. And I didn't that night, unfortunately. And then I was like all set to go see them, and the show got canceled and everything got canceled. They were even going on a tour where they were I saw they were playing up in Richmond. Maybe it was like May or something. I was like, that'd be good. Just kind of pop up and see Donald, take him to see the show and stuff. But it got canceled.
God damn it!
But so yeah, like 2019, they put out that album, Dark Synthetics, and it was really cool and shit. And then just, but during all this madness, they put out a cool single. And it's weird because it's a little different. It has more of like the music has almost like a New Order-y vibe to it, I thought. And so it's a cool, like Dissolve is the name of the single. And I don't know if it's like for an upcoming bigger album or if it was just a one-off single thing. But it's really cool. And before that, even in February, I think it was like right before it went down, I just thought this was weird that they had like, sorry, there's sirens going on. The remixes.
What's going on in the world, man?
I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Let's keep talking music. So Dark Synthetics had a remix version. I don't know if it's like, I'm assuming they're not like Asheville DJs or somebody doing the remixes. It must just be people they know from wherever. But just did like a mixed up kind of. Well, I was just like, that's just so fucking weird. Like a local band, and they already have like a remix version of the albums, and it was cool because I already knew the songs pretty well. So it was like, they're actually pretty rad. I was like, these are cool. Or it is had more kind of sequencers and shit going on and stuff. So it was pretty cool. So It's still called Dark Synthetics Remixes, I think, and it's on their Bandcamp and stuff. So I've been kind of digging that one. So it was kind of cool to have like a local band that I've been familiar with, so I'm really anxious to see them live when shows start up in 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, no fuck, man.
So,
I was thinking about it today, like I was just getting so like antsy and just like at work, and I was talking with a friend. I was like, you know what it is? Like, I want to play a fucking show and just like spaz out in front of people and like just bang some fucking drums and just freak out, like. Fuck, man. Like,
We were joking today that I was like, I'm not very go out in public that much anymore as I'm getting older, but at the same time, the one fucking thing I do go out occasionally, if I'm gonna go out, it's for a live show, And I was just like, great. Figures the very one thing that I would leave the house to do on a Wednesday night is gonna be like the very last thing, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
That finally gets the green light that we could do again. I was just like, great. Well, all right, I guess.
In Richmond, they some local band I've never heard of. Like, I don't even think like a Fantastic one or anything. They had a dumb name. I forget what it was, but it's like they were gonna in the parking lot of like the Richmond Coliseum. Mm-hmm. You pay like it was like $70 or $90 to pull up in your car. You can't roll down the windows. You tune into a radio station, and then they play live, and then you sit in your car and listen to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Like, that sounds so fucking terrible. Like, what's the fucking point? Like,
it's cute and cool in the sense that I do. That's one thing I do love with all this is that people are kind of forced to get creative again. You know, like it's kind of like just seeing. 90% of them are terrible ideas, but just like even with the live streams and stuff, like just seeing who does what and makes it a kind of unique twist on what you're doing. A lot of the venues here in Nashville are doing things where they're, I guess, booking the bands still to play, not like touring bands, but it's like the local bands will play in the empty venue and they live stream it from the venue, and it's like, okay, cool, but it's
I like that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
and you still,
that's a good idea.
One of the venues is just like doing it straight from their home, but they're doing it from the venue's Instagram or something, so it's kind of like see it pop up as the live thing. This has been the funny thing with the live streams, and then we can do a whole subcategory on that. But like, where you pop in on a live stream, and it's just some dude with his keyboard. It's like doing kind of like Donald stuff when you're really cutting loose, And I realize I'm the only person in the. And I'm like, oh shit! I just want to like get a little peek. I'm not like in here for like the whole hour-long show or something. It's like, oh no, and then like I feel bad if I leave. So I'm just like sitting there letting the phone run for like an hour. It's like, well, I guess I'm not using my phone for the next hour, but I just don't have the heart, The dude only had like 4
fucking
people.
Mr. Manners over here, man. I love it.
But anyway, an old album that's come up, which was a weird one. I mean, it's always been one that I really loved, but for some reason, I just really started digging in the Ian McCulloch solo album, Candleland, that came out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
damn, I've been listening to that forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that I always strangely had a connection to more than I should, probably even for some reason. It was just such a weird, came out in like September '89, so it was like, I was trying to just think back of like why, it was like one of the first ones I really had on like CD and stuff, and I just have like such distinct memories of like sharing my room with my brother, and I just like would put that album on, and like it was just like a weird, I guess I was in 7th grade, I think, at the time I narrowed it down to, so it was like kind of definitely in the thick of my Cure love at that point, and like, I definitely was into Echo and the Bunnymen. I remember being strangely like excited that the singer had a solo album. Like now I kind of know that
you were so big on them when you
it
were kids.
was just more like the whole image and everything, and I think
they look cool as shit.
Yeah, and it's a weird album because it is kind of different more now than I realized at the time than like Echo and the Bunnymen stuff. And I don't even know where it sits. Someday if we ever talk to Shane and Courtney for their Echo and the Bunnymen podcast, I would really like to see where most
fuck yes, it's gonna happen, goddamn it.
Because I don't really know where this album stands with like diehard Bunnymen fans and stuff too. I have a feeling it's kind of frowned upon, even just because it's like more poppy, and it's like it's everything that I love about like later Echo and the Bunnymen and stuff too. Probably because it's starting to sound more like almost Cure-ish more, and stuff, where he's just doesn't really have the edge of like the first few Echo and the Bunnymen albums, where they're definitely more like punky and has like a harder, whatever you want to call it.
I never really told you who I was. It must have been because from start to finish I was proud to fall, and I felt so deep within it I got lost inside it all.
Yeah, it's weird. I just love this album though. It just like has just the right amount of like, cool like loops and stuff, but it's like mixed really cool. And then I just recently looked at the producer, Ray Schulman. I never heard of him in my life, but found out he also did like
Phil Thornalley.
Yeah, it almost seemed like that kind of
We
thing
missed
was
it.
about that. But he did the Sundays first album and the Sugar Cubes first albums, which are both like two that I love. Yeah, so I was like, oh wow, cool.
I love all that.
Yeah, and then like even like not since we started like the Cure podcast, I didn't realize that like Boris from the Cure played drums on Proud to Fall and White Hotel and stuff. So there's some weird Cure crossover even for this album. And like Tim Pope directed the video for Proud to Fall. I think that was a huge part of it too. As like a kid, I was just so video based, and the video for Proud to Fall was like so rad. It's just very Cure-esque, where it's almost like just like Heaven, where he's kind of stretched and stuff too, like that weird kind of camera angle where it's like very just visually cool, and I just love that song, and I've been like trying to just finally nail the cover of that and stuff and play it, and so I don't know, I've just been, and I think I've tried to overanalyze it maybe, where it was like that kind of nostalgic comfort blanket. What are those things you put on your dogs when there's like a thunderstorm? Like thunder
like
blankets or
thunder shirt.
I feel like
thunder shirt.
There's certain albums
like when I
that
put the towel over my dog when it starts rumbling out there.
That's kind of like what this album is. There's these weird ones from my childhood that I always just like pull out at times like these, I think, or it's just like because it was like, not that it was safe then, it was almost weirder because like for some reason I felt like in middle school you feel like the whole world's fucking crazy outside too, and it's kind of how it feels now. It's almost a little too familiar. So I think that might be part of the connection if I'm really trying to analyze it all. But
you had to go back into your files and find the middle school mix.
Yeah, which is great. That says a lot about public schools in middle school, right? Where the closest thing I can relate to is a pandemic and deadly virus.
It's our wonderful education.
So I don't know, but that one just still I feel like gets better every time I listen to it. It's a weird album, but if anybody hasn't checked it out, recommend it.
Is that the one with Lips Like Sugar?
Nah, that was the last Bunnymen one before that. So it kind of bleeds from that one into it because, it had more of that. Because those are, like, poppier. And I feel like that album, too. Yeah. Like, that was, like, always clearly, like, the greatest Echo one when I was a kid. Like, now that I'm seeing their full catalog more, I'm kind of like, okay, I can see why. But it was kind of, like, surprised me where I think that one's even a little frowned upon too, like just because they started to get a little more poppy, but I mean it was like, man,
that's a good road trip song, god damn it. That one pops up like Lips Like Sugar.
I love that. That was fucking great.
It's fun shit to sing along to.
I think the singles on his solo one were Proud to Fall, Flickering Wall, Faith and Healing, and the song Candleland that had Elizabeth Fraser from Cocteau Twins in it. So she sang on that one.
Holy shit.
So that was cool.
I remember that.
Yeah. But, those are kind of my jams at the moment. And mixes, of course. I've just been picking a billion mixes of everything from lyrical connections to madness to, just songs I've been working on to or whatever, So nothing too...
Right on.
Now you want me to go listen to Echo now.
Yeah, they're good quarantine band jams, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
I've actually I have a couple of the cassettes, and I love when I'm like cassette vibing.
Yeah.
I pop them on every once in a while, and it's like, ooh, this is kind of chill.
Yeah, they're classics for sure.
Yeah.
And as far as the Cure, I think we really did, like you were saying, Chaz, with the 17 second stuff, just, that took a huge chunk of it for how appropriate and just like heavy that was, I was like, okay, 17 seconds. And strangely enough, and it is kind of tainted by our podcast where just tonight I'm going to re-upload the Kiss Me review that we did for the anniversary last week or whatever, and so I re-listened to that, and that kind of got me big on Kiss Me again. And
you're gonna rile up the fans there, bud. What are you playing there?
It'll already be out by the time this comes out, but Kiss Me is a great album right now because I feel like in the same way that like the Candleland was like a comfort blanket, like Kiss Me is like a really like time capsule kind of Cure album too, like where it feels like 1987 France, or you know what I mean. It's just like hearing the songs like transports me into like a very pleasant scene, like where you can just kind of get carried away by it, and it has like the dark miserable ones and like the all right, let's bring it out with something a little goofy, and you get the full balance. I've been digging some Kiss Me for sure. But
yeah, I can see that. It's like just a little palate cleanser, just like takes you back, a little nostalgia.
Yeah, that's a little everything.
Yeah. Has there been like a record you're like, oh man, I'm like bummed out, and like put it on and you're like, God damn no, like
little bit of faith,
just
yeah,
too-
like with you,
Yeah.
like I did faith.
Yeah,
like
I
usually
tried
it's
Faith too.
yeah, I think I've done all of like the core faith disintegration in pornography. I've done like after,
yeah.
like especially early on, like I'd watch the evening news, which is a mistake in itself,
Yep.
and then and I'm like, well, all right, damn, listen to 100 years and just do it, But then, like I said,
Yeah.
you can't loop those albums, You'll just fucking lose your mind. But so we'll save that for the fall.
Yeah, exactly. I did make it through pornography a few times during this fucking quarantine weird shit, and but now I was real riled up, and that's a fucking angry record,
Yeah.
like that's a fucking angry fucking record. I was like, all right, this works. Like I wanted to listen to some Cure, but it's just like,
It does really go with our theory of like, because 17 Seconds was the creepy vibe of like, what are we getting into? And then like,
Yeah.
Faith was just like, oh, then we're just like mad now with pornography. It's just like,
yeah. It was kind of hitting my mood. It's just like, yeah, it's like stoking the flame,
Totally.
I was like, all right, yeah.
Well, you guys want to plow through some listener contributions by any chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
But before that, I think we have a word from our sponsor.
Hey there, guys. When I podcast, I like to stay hydrated and a little buzzed. And I do that with a cold Ham's beer from the land of sky blue waters here at the Holy Hour Podcast. Oh, ooh. God damn, that's refreshing. Ham's beer, man.
Is that a straw you're using?
No, it's my big dumb mouth.
Hams. The best way to drink it is with your big dumb mouth. Yeah. Not official sponsor, but
Please,
willing
really,
to
Hams,
try.
be an official sponsor.
All right. Well, now that we got that cleared up, I think we're clear to go to the listener contributions, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
And I'm happy to say we got an audio clip sent in from our friend of the show, Matt. And
Sup, man?
he sent us a cool little clip, so we're going to give it a listen now and see what top 5 songs he's been binging through the quarantine here. So here we go.
Holy Hour crew, what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. So 5 songs I'm going to pick for this quarantine playlist, but I'll be honest, as the quarantine kind of bled into the events of Minnesota and George Floyd over the past few days, it kind of tainted this a little bit. And I went from a place of kind of selfishly like, oh, when's this going to be over with? This sucks. Like I'm working from home with kids screaming at me for snacks every 10 minutes and just kind of doing the pouty why me thing, which is just a total shit attitude and bad on my part. And then, we have another unarmed black man killed by law enforcement in our wonderful country. So that kind of shifted my list a little bit, and I don't want to get too political, but I feel like it's kind of unavoidable. Number 1, I'm going to go with Prince, Joy and Repetition. And, Prince, obviously, you make the connection. Minnesota, that's him. The Paisley Park, he was Minnesota to me when I think back. And Minnesota, aside being there for about 20 minutes in an airport, I've never really been there. But if I were to do a Mount Rushmore of my favorite artists and groups, Cure's on there. It would be Cure, it would be Prince, Brand New, and then the 4th one's always up for debate. That one's kind of like the come and go. But let me do Prince, Joy of Repetition, and that's off his worst album. In some people's opinion, his worst album, which is the Graffiti Bridge soundtrack. It had some of the Time playing on it. But to be fair, the song Joy of Repetition goes all the way back to the Purple Rain Parade Days recordings. So it's an older track, but it's just so moody. And the guitar solo on that's kind of understated. It kind of like erupts out of nowhere in only a way that he can. It's not that loud Eddie Van Halen kind of in your face thing. It kind of like creeps up on you. And just the whole theme of the Joy of Repetition and finding You know, we're all kind of stuck in our houses and we're doing the same goddamn things every day. Sorry for swearing so much, but, you know, finding things to look forward to in that, and then, you know, knowing that's going to get better eventually. It's hard to see it now. It's kind of hard to see it at this point, but we'll get through it. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Smith song, I Know It's Over. And, you know, before I say that, I really think that you got to put the asterisk now with Morrissey. It's kind of like, for any baseball fans out there, when you look at the home run records of Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, you really do put that asterisk there kind of to denote that they were under performance-enhancing drugs at the time. And when you bust out a Smith song in 2020, you kind of got to say, yeah, I know Morrissey's an asshole now, and he said some really bad things at this late stage of his career, but hey, to me, that band gets a free pass just for what they did for me growing up. So I'm going to put I Know It's Over just for the lyrics. It takes strength to be gentle and kind. That always kind of stuck out to me. And, you know, as things are deteriorating, as the world's falling apart, just being kind to other people, it's hard, but, you know, it's just something we got to do. So that's that. 3, I'm going to go, and I really hope Chaz appreciates this, I'm going some Long Island hardcore, early 2000s with Glassjaw. El Mark is the song I picked. I had a hard time picking a particular song from this, but El Mark was a B-side, and fun fact, produced by Ross Robinson. So, yeah, if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. But Glassjaw was a group that I saw tons of times as a teenager, hardcore, just this kind of cathartic mosh pit at every show. The performance of Daryl Palumbo, very theatrical. He screams, he emotes. He it's kind of like a Mike Patton where his voice just jumps all over the place, and it can be kind of cartoony, it can be very serious, but I've always appreciated his lyrics. I've always related to that feeling of being young and kind of fighting against authority, and what better time than now to kind of bring that back. I've been playing this song a lot over the past week, to the annoyance of my wife and kids. But yeah, just like anti-authority, that theme is just going to be in music forever, and just something you can easily, I find, I can like easily tap into that, you know, and just like getting the aggression out, I can easily tap into that. I still, even at my old ass age, can feel it, you know. It's just one of those things, like, I don't know, when you feel that with a community of other like-minded people, it's all the better, you know. All right, 4. So as I said before, my Mount Rushmore had the group Brand New on there, another Long Island band. Early 2000s, a little emo core, if you want to label it that, but they really just blossomed into so much more than that. It's kind of hard to even label them, really. Unfortunately, they broke up at the end of 2017, and they left us with their final album that dropped out of nowhere called Science Fiction. So this is going to be my most recent song on my list, and I'm going to pick the song Same Logic. This record was kind of about mental health and dealing with stuff, and there's even, man, I really want to, it's almost like a rabbit hole to summarize this and go deep down. I really should go through all the albums at some point on some other medium eventually, but I don't know. Just give it a shot. It might be for you, it might not be, but it's basically the soundtrack of a guy who's digging his way out of a pit. You know, like he's had some bad shit happen, done some very regrettable things, and now it's kind of like owning up and manning up and fighting out and fighting off your demons. That's their big thing. It's called Fighting Off Your Demons. It was one of a demo for an unreleased song, which later turned out to be not the title of it, but through just it spreading online, people somehow gave it that name. So it's kind of like an adopted name for the thing. But yeah, it's really cool. Check it out. And then 5, we got to go with our boys, The Cure. So I'm going to anticipate a lot of people who submit to this are probably going to pick the song Faith. Completely understand. Very relevant right now. But I'm going to go with the Cure song that I think best symbolizes these times. Maybe their most overlooked song, and in my opinion, probably their greatest song ever. And that is Do the Hansa. So everybody out there, we're going to get through this. I love everybody. Let's do the Hansa together. Thanks, Holy Hour, Gavin, Chaz, Donald, for giving us an outlet, giving us a place to be heard, and be with some like-minded people. It's really awesome, and we'll get through this, guys. So take care, do the Hansa, and peace out.
That was funny. He got me. He got me.
Yeah, you got me too. Well, pretty solid list, though, don't you think?
Not
That was pretty
bad.
Sweet.
Yeah, not bad.
Did you appreciate the hardcore-ish shout-outs there, Chaz?
Yeah.
Look, yeah.
I was never a big Glassjaw fan, but I know who they are, and I've listened to them. And I had a friend that was a really huge Glassjaw fan. They were just never got me through it. Like, I never got into it. So
Yeah.
I know they did a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So, but just not me. So
Yeah. Must have been that Ross Robinson connection.
no, yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but like, yeah, it just never. I don't know. So there's a couple other just to hit him back real quick. Like as far as Long Island bands go, definitely like Crime and Stereo and Silent Majority are two of my favorites. So
Yeah.
Right on.
there he goes.
There's a lot of hardcore that came out of Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was more. I don't know. Sometimes it was more poppy, and at times it was a little more complex than the New York City hardcore that was coming out at the time.
Yeah.
Or through the 80s and 90s. So
Right on.
yeah.
And you can't go wrong with Prince. I feel like we were starting to
No.
say before all this, I feel like Prince is like Bowie in the sense
Yeah.
that like you're not even really allowed to have an opinion of him anymore. He's just like
Yeah.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't even matter if you really like his music or whatever song. It's just like he's amazing.
It's about what
It just-
he represents.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Same thing as Bowie.
Yeah, Prince is fucking
yeah, but
slays.
that's
Yeah.
a cool song. I'm not familiar with that tune in particular. I gave it one quick listen before that, and it's definitely a cool. Like, yeah, I don't think I've ever really heard that one or much. I definitely checked out Graffiti Bridge initially, but yeah, didn't really dive into that
Yeah.
one too much. So we'll definitely check
Yeah,
it out. Uh-huh.
I'm glad he put that little note in there about Morrissey.
Yes.
So that
Yeah, no.
that made my
and
day.
I'm totally with him too, in the sense that
Yeah.
you can't take away from those Smith songs too, in the positive degree.
Yeah.
But it's like those songs are so amazing, especially as we're talking about getting you through dark times and stuff too. Going back to my comfort blanket songs or whatever, it's the Smiths and the Cure were definitely there from the start. So
Yeah.
can't shun any of that, no matter how crazy he's become.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you listen to like, I listen to a lot of fucking terrible like black metal shit, and just like these people burn down churches and like ate people's brains and shit. It's like,
Are we talking about Dark Throne and fucking Burzum? And
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and it's just
Took me
like,
a second,
Varg-
but I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Varg Vikernes?
yeah. That's Ross Robinson, Chaz. But that's the.
Oh man, I would love to hear Ross Robinson doing death
It's
metal.
like Varg name wise, but yeah, it's just like that kind of shit. It's just like these like a lot of terrible people like made some really interesting art, and it's like
Yeah.
Separating
the art from the artist should be a whole episode in itself.
Yeah,
But not
but
the
it's-
Cure. Luckily, we're safe on that one. So,
For
so
now.
far. So far, yeah. Nobody's really safe, I guess. Well, that was awesome, Matt. Thanks for sending in our audio contribution
Fuck yeah.
of the evening, and always great to hear from him and his thoughts on everything. So I'm still waiting for Matt's podcast. He needs to start up his own.
Yeah,
I would listen to that podcast.
right on.
So we got some good emails too. So if you guys want to bear with me, I'll read you some emails we got from listeners that give us a little rundown of what they've been up to in the past 3 months as far as musical taste. Our first one was from Michelle, and she wrote, "I started listening to all the albums in order. Week 1 of quarantine. Depending on how tough a week I was having homeschooling and working from home, and how sad and scared I was, how quickly the virus was spreading in New Jersey, and how I was that day, hoping to one day sit in a restaurant again, or the unimaginable, go to a show again. Everything from 100 Years to Grinding Halt to High to Mint Car. In every album, there was proof that there really is a Cure song for every mood and situation.
Yes,
So
there
it's,
is.
it's going to be a reoccurring theme through a lot of these. Is the Cure really can adapt. So that's awesome. I've also been super drawn again to bands like Jesus and the Mary Chain and Cocteau Twins. That just helped me escape.
Yes.
Michelle, thanks.
Yo,
So, yeah,
Michelle.
there's gonna be some.
Fucking Cocteau Twins? That's what's up. That's been my driving around at work
Yeah.
jams. It's just so calming and just like, ooh, get lost and it's beautiful. Like, that's what's up.
Yeah.
And I
I
like,
think it is.
and
And
I
it's
like.
strange where it's.
Can I throw this in real quick and I'll shut up? But her idea of her idea of starting from like record one and going through it, like if I were to listen to The Cure and just do that and take that journey, like I think that's maybe like one way I could, listen to their dark stuff throughout all this, like because I've been shying away from it, like fuck yeah, that's a good idea, man.
Yeah, we hear a couple of these in the emails where, like, I like the idea. Kind of like what Chaz was trying with Sonic Youth. There was, like, having a project, Maybe it's not too late. We're probably going to have more of this ahead. But at the same time, the idea of digging into some, like, every album of a band that you're not familiar with or something would be cool. So, yeah, there's a couple of those. But, like, The Cure in particular, maybe I'll... copy every Cure album to a cassette and then listen to them backwards, maybe. Getting desperate over here. A new record would be really nice.
Oh man, I wonder if there's any like backmasking on any Cure records. That would be like
It'd be like,
drop any like
lol, c'est
devil
toi.
stuff.
It'd be like lol digs and shit. Like,
Here's an interesting email that was a little unexpected. Maybe you guys are more familiar. It's from Nicole, who's been a good loyal listener for a long time.
Sup,
And
Nicole?
writes, hey, she writes, as I write this, I'm listening to one of my favorite artists, Sophie Tucker, a duo consisting of Sophie Wally-Weld and Tucker Halpern. I became aware of them in January 2018 and remember buying their first album straight from their website because even though you could purchase it digitally, I enjoyed it so much I wanted an official copy on CD. I found both the music and Sophie's voice very calming and loved listening when I needed to relax. Since then, they've released another full album and plenty of singles to keep things interesting, including a song called House Arrest, available on Spotify, which ironically was written before the quarantine, but is the perfect anthem for our current situation. Since the quarantine started, they've been performing live DJ sets every day at noon Central, including weekends, throughout Instagram and Twitch. I initially tuned in via Instagram, but have since switched to Twitch because I can cast it on my TV and turn up the stereo really loud
Fuck yeah.
and feel the bass. It's been much needed, not to mention highly anticipated, part of my daily routine. I love that the sets vary each day so they never feel stale, including a recently introduced throwback Saturday featuring 90s dance songs. They bring a lot of energy and fun to each performance, which breaks up the monotony of being inside most days. Plus, they just seem to genuinely be nice people. They've been teaming up with different websites to raise money for various causes, which includes a second performance later in the day, and I stay tuned in because they are just that good. I can't recommend them highly enough if you like dance music. Nicole.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, are you guys familiar with
Nope.
with Sophie Tucker? Yeah, it's weird. Have you heard them, Chaz?
No.
Yeah, it's I got a YouTube video like a couple months back from my sister-in-law, and it's super dancey. Just like she's really just beautiful singer. Like turns out she's German, but grew up in Canada and went to school in Italy.
Damn.
But it is like super poppy dance stuff, but it's cool. So yeah, I've definitely seen some videos and been down. So yeah, so definitely worth checking out if you're not familiar. But yeah,
I am
really
saving
cool.
it on my computer right now.
There you go. Cool. Have you guys watched regularly any live streams from artists through this?
No.
The way she is? Or- Yeah.
No, the only thing I watched was the Post Malone
Yeah.
thing, which we already talked about. But that I think that was it.
That comes up later in an email too. But yeah, I've only watched two more than once. The Bill Janovitz from Buffalo Tom. He's been doing one every weekend. That's really awesome. Just like solo acoustic from his house. So those have been really awesome. Just because he does like tons of cool covers.
So
and
dope. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Everything.
Gav, I'm gonna have to
Uh-huh.
add in. I totally forgot to write this down. Big Red Letter Day, Buffalo Tom. Big Red Letter Day.
Oh yeah, you've been listening to that one a lot.
A
Golden.
lot. Like it's on like
Golden oldie.
yeah. That goes on like fucking at least like twice a week. Like sometimes more, but it's like a shower record for me sometimes, and I'm feeling like because the lyrics are like I'm not a big lyric dude, you know. But the lyrics
Yeah,
are
he
just like
nails it.
fucking like really get me, and I'm like, like I'm allowed. God damn it!
Yeah.
God damn
so
it!
good.
What a good fucking song! Like,
But I gotta bounce though. Is that okay?
yeah.
Okay, glad to have you, man.
All right,
Okay.
Chaz. Take care, bud.
Just put in some of these. Whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll just dub it in.
Yeah.
That's so good. It's totally like Chaz left, but he's
I'm so into that.
Like, give me like a
All right.
no way.
Whoa.
Ooh. Perfect.
All right.
That and the blue screen, I think we got you covered. We'll be technology's come a long
And
way.
thanks for listening, everybody. There you go.
Yeah. Good to have you, man. Keep safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you guys later. All right. Bye.
All right. Next email up was from another one from the same episode of the Cure Encounters. We heard from Stefano in Italy, so we hope he's doing all right out there. And
Sup, Stefano?
yeah, he wrote us a nice message that said, "Hello, Gavin. In the last 3 months, I've been listening to tons of music, much music from the 80s. Music is my life. Here
nice.
follows my synthetic list. Stay, take care. Ciao, Stefano." And he sent a Spotify link. So we'll put all these, and I'm actually going to try to compile all these on our Facebook page. If you're ever going to check out our Facebook page, this is a great one for it, because I'm going to try to just put it all together. Is like everybody in the threads little playlist and stuff, so it'll all be in
Yeah,
there,
dude.
so people can
And I think
backtrack.
Yeah. And I think that's something we like. It's a good resource. Like you, the listeners,
Mm-hmm.
are listening to a podcast about a band that we're doing a podcast about. So we probably have some similar taste in music.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, what a good way, because no one's doing shit. You know,
Yeah.
generally, like what a time to like dig into some shit you haven't heard before.
Yeah, and this is just a great fucking mix, you know. I think I've made it clear what a mix nut I am on this podcast, where I just love a good mix, and he did a great job where it's like, kicks off with Tears for Fears, Mad World, and then it's just, I'm not going to read you all billion songs that are on this, but at the same time, it's all like your favorites, like the core Cure, Depeche Mode, Echo, Cocteau Twins comes up again, Smiths, Susie and the Banshees, Joy Division. Those are all like the givens,
Yeah,
but then it has
yeah.
like the Cranes on there and
Yes!
Sundays, which we
Ooh, I've been
already
listening to a
mentioned.
lot of Sundays, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah, it's fucking great. Produced by the guy that
Like-
did Ian McCulloch's album.
Yeah, that's so good.
Cigarettes After Sex, who I've been loving, even though the dude's a little pervert. It's great. I love that album. It was like my album of the year last year, I think.
Off me, if you're gonna break my heart, this is a good start. Kiss it off me,
just some great stuff. House of Love, Kraftwerk,
Hell yeah.
Placebo, and strangely enough, this band called The Organ, which has been weird because they've come up like 3 times in the past like month. They were a band I saw with KC. I think it was at Black Cat in DC, like right before we moved to Asheville, and it was one of the rare times where I can't even remember who they were opening for, but I was like, this is great, and we bought the album, and like it's just been one that we listened to a lot, and then like I don't think they ever really made another one. Maybe there were more, but it was just like one of those things where you really fell for the opener hard, and like just in like the last month, like they came up. Nat from the episode we did with South Park, she had mentioned them because I guess they're a Canadian band. Maybe was the connection.
What's up, Nat?
And and then he has them on this playlist, and Arusha, I think, even posted like just a song out of nowhere in a Instagram thing. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. This band keeps popping back up, so I've dug the CD out, and I'm definitely gonna give it some more listens because I haven't heard it in forever. But really cool.
I might have to check them out, man. I've been kind of fascinated with bands that just put out like one amazing fucking record, like,
and I'm not
my
quite
mind's
sure
blank
that's
right
the
now.
case with them, but maybe I don't know.
But like Life Without Buildings is one I could think of.
This artist Blair, I love. It was Blair, and she was just like a singer, but she had like such a good fucking record, and then she just like stop. I don't know what's up.
I kind of love it, like
you
know, it's just like someone that paints like one, like the most amazing painting. It's the only one that ever did. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, how did you do that? Like,
it's like I don't know. That's why I didn't do it again.
Like, it's like I do something half-ass okay, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing this. You know, like it's amazing. Like I love records like that. It's just like fucking mystifies me. Like,
I'm so into that.
Anyway, this was an amazing playlist from Stefano. It's called The Waves. It's 6 hours and 56 minutes, so almost 7 hours of music on Spotify here, and really good. Mixed in with some classical jams thrown in there too, so that's really cool.
Fuck
and,
yeah.
It definitely just has a great flow. I haven't done the whole playlist in order yet, but I think it might come up. So some great stuff on there. So thank you, and hope you're keeping safe there. And speaking of Nat from last episode of South Park, or maybe the one before last now when this comes out, we heard from her, and she said, "This is Nat from the South Park episode. I hope you're staying safe out there. I wanted to contribute by answering your question about music that has gotten me through the past 3 months. My playlist has consisted of quite a few Cure songs, especially those off of Faith and 17 Seconds. Not only it's been a nice way to celebrate the birthdays of those iconic albums, moreover, the gloomy, stripped-down atmosphere was very relevant to the uncertain and hopeless reality of the quarantine. Over the last few weeks, as the weather started getting better and the world has slowly started reopening, I found myself enjoying poppier tunes such as Just Like Heaven, Catch, both off of Kiss Me, Kiss Me, I must add, and even The Top. I was sitting in the sun, working from my backyard, in other words. No matter what you're going through, there will always be a relevant Cure song to sing along to. Going back to our main topic of tonight, maybe. But besides the Cure, I've been enjoying a few local bands based here in Vancouver, especially the Zolas and We Are the City. The Zolas had to postpone their album release, and We Are the City had to cancel their tour, so it was a nice way to support the guys by giving them some streams and ordering merch. Also, over the last few weeks, I've been digging the Italian post-punk band called Soviet. Their music is... good name. Their music is clearly influenced by the iconic 80s sound. It is not necessarily original or innovative, but they are extremely good in what they're doing. I would definitely recommend their album Fate. Excited for the episode and thrilled to hear what other people say. Thanks for everything you do. Stay safe, Nat. So yeah, cool ones that I haven't. She just sent that yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to check those bands out. But in particular, the Zolas and We Are the City from Vancouver.
What a good name!
Soviet. The Italian post-punk. I already love it. So yeah.
Soviet, I'm gonna check out.
One of the unfortunate truths of getting older, you just slowly start not hearing about these bands. So this is great. Thank you.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
thanks for
Fuck
hooking
yeah,
us up.
Nat.
And great to hear from you. Hopefully you're staying safe
Yeah.
out there too. And
Nat, I just want to throw you a shout out. Like, the podcast we did with you was so fucking good. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it, and thank you for contributing.
yeah.
Again, like, love to hear from you. It's fantastic.
Amen. So Natalie this time writes us. Natalie
Whoa.
writes, "Hi Gavin, just to say you guys are so awesome. I love listening to the podcast. You make me smile and laugh." So I've been listening to The Cure, obviously. Also, 10,000 Maniacs, Blind Man Zoo, and In My Tribe, which I saw them in 1989. She says they were amazing. I love Natalie
Fuck yeah.
Merchant. And yeah, like maybe a not so obvious fact that in our early concert going days, I think you were with me for most of those. We saw like 10,000.
We saw a lot of 10,000
saw
Maniacs.
A lot of 10,000 Maniac shows. Like for our time in Eden around then, it was like they were just
Yeah.
touring a lot, and we were like younger, so it was real easy to go to we would go to like the pavilion shows, but then we'd also a lot of them we were hitting up like the universities, like when the bands would, I don't even know if bands do that now still. They would do like the actual tour, then they'd do another round, then they'd do like a
Yeah.
college tour where they just go around and play like we saw them in like gyms and shit, Did we see it?
We saw them in
it's like-
weird places.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
it was
weird
like it was
stuff. George
America
Washington.
University or something, like in DC. I
Yeah,
don't know. I forget what it's called. Like that university there. It sounds really lame.
Yeah, George Washington, I think. George Washington University. wasn't it? Some lame name like George Washington.
Fucking Strayer. We saw him at Strayer.
Yeah, Strayer. AB Tech. But yeah, Zap Mama opened, I think. We saw
Mhm, I remember that.
Yeah, we saw a few shows there. And I saw him once with the Wallflowers, but I think that was just me and my older brother at that one. But
I scored back when there was record shops, like a few months before all this shit. I spent like $70 on tapes or some shit, like just like Records and Relics in Richmond, Virginia.
nice.
It was just like I hadn't been there before, and it was like heard about it. And I was like, oh shit, and dropped some coin, and I got I think In My Tribe, like one of the early ones, like the ones with
Yeah,
like
that's the best. I love that album.
the
That's
one
like-
with the girls with like the bows and arrows.
Yeah, that's
on the
it.
cover.
Yeah, it has
God
what's the
damn.
matter here and Hey Jack Kerouac
Yeah.
and stuff are so good.
Yeah,
Like
I haven't
the
listened to
weather.
that tune in a while, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, and I've been listening to a lot more during these quarantine times on cassette, like when I had cassette
Yeah.
nights, and I was just amazed with the musicianship, like
Yeah.
the guitar player like really blew me away. I'm like, this is some like Johnny Marr shit. Like,
Yeah,
what
he
the
was
fuck's
awesome.
going on? Like, he was
Very
so
cool.
fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10,000 Maniacs in her voice, you can't
Yeah, so
fuck
good.
with. Like,
And it was cool at that
fuck
era.
yeah.
They were still like super alternative. It was weird because they almost got too good to be like an alternative band. So they
Right.
just started like get like a little too talented to just be some college rock band or something. So it was like, but yeah, during that string of like Blind Man Zoo and In My Tribe and even Into Our Time in
Yeah.
Eden, it was like those are fucking great records. But
really good.
eh.
And it's like they deserve every ounce of success. Like, I was kind of like, oh man, like just a fucking young kid, and just like, oh, they're not all indie anymore. And it's
yeah,
like, were they even that indie
yeah.
to begin with? But I was really happy to see their success. Like,
Yeah,
they really
exactly.
Like, they put the time in and like really made good records and really, really pretty music. Like, good for them.
Sure.
All right.
Also in her email, she says, I've been enjoying New Order, Joy Division, which, this is the reoccurring ones. Sinead O'Connor, we haven't heard before on this.
Nice.
So, yeah, Lion and Cobra in particular, which I'm not familiar with that one. And the Pixies, Depeche Mode, Black Celebration.
Yeah.
So, some staples there. Thank God for music, she says, because it really gets me through everything. Take care and love listening to you, Chaz and Donald. So, yeah,
Natalie,
thanks
thank
so much.
you very much, man.
Yeah, and
But
let's see.
Good lists.
Yeah, all good taste here. We got one from just today, so I made it in at we ended up recording this a day earlier than we thought. So luckily, Jeff sent this in, who goes by Lizel Beatrix on Instagram, and is always a good supporter and very good responses and awesome, friend of the show here. So it's great to get an email from Jeff in Orlando. Hey,
What's up?
What's up? And starting off with Cure stuff, he says, I've been watching the anniversary DVD ritually every Saturday night since its release. Wow. Which has been especially helpful as of late. Always accompanied by some green friends by the name of Rolling Rock.
Woo!
And only a
We're a Hams podcast there, buddy. We're not bringing up Rolling Rock there.
He says, only a slight second place substitute for Hams, which isn't available where I live. Sorry, Donald.
Love it.
Says, also, I have a 3-year-old daughter who has recently curated a playlist mostly made of Cure. She'll turn 4 in August and is developing an ear for a wider scope of music that really speaks to her. The playlist consists of only 5 tracks, but on loop, it might as well be a full length. Definitely know the feeling. We love Cats. and In Between Days, Friday I'm in Love. Ed shifts to Tom Petty's Don't Do Me Like That, and the White Stripes' Cold Night for good measure. Pretty much consistently on repeat during craft time. Short trips in the car and a cappella all day long. So, pornography has been a steady rotation. When things get stressful and tension builds, which at times can be overwhelming, definitely has helped to vent and purge. Emma Ruth Rundle, which I wasn't familiar with, I pulled it up right before we started recording and did sound definitely up my alley there, like very sad singer-songwriter kind of stuff. Highway Holidays TV / full season on YouTube has been a perfect moment of escapism for me and the feeling of driving at night. So Cathedral Bells, and their album Velvet Spirit, that has released only 3 weeks before the quarantine. Definitely been a solid go-to sound for the feel of spring and summer. Like reading a really great set of short stories while outdoors and then just crawling up right inside the book. Led Zeppelin full catalog has been featured on Sirius XM channel. 27 deep tracks lately. Ends in June. Has been purely the nerding out and admiring the technique. On a side note to Chaz, the Post Malone Nirvana tribute seriously caught my attention. Fucking great idea. Had no prior
What do you have to say about that,
knowledge.
Chaz?
I'm so into that.
Had no idea prior knowledge of what he was doing or about either. So. Also, I had pre-ordered the vinyl of Roger's new album, Two Ravens, and when it was said to be delayed, I decided to not scoop up the digital version and just wait for the full listen when the LP arrives. I thoroughly enjoyed the album review in episode 135, definitely helping build the suspense. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. He hasn't heard it yet. So
the suspense is the best part because you have nothing to fucking do right now, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, nothing to look forward to, and it's just like, oh, man. Fuck yeah, dude.
Really proud of what you guys are doing at the Whole Yard Podcast. Truly believe in what y'all have done and continue to do, connecting our great Cure community. Thanks for the opportunity. Be well. Jeff. So thanks so much, man. Always great
to
hear from you, and in an email form too. So that was really sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, shifting gears from
list,
emails,
man.
we got Instagram, just comments that I jotted down from when we posted the what are you guys up to? And we heard from Charm Girl 13. Sorry, I'm assuming that's not your real name, but Charm Girl wrote,
Sup, Charm Girl?
Hey, Charm Girl. I made an entire quarantine playlist, so I got this one off of Spotify too. This is it includes The Cure, Joy Division, Morrissey, War on Drugs, and Fleetwood Mac. So Donald ears will perk up for that one. New Order.
Love me some Fleetwood Mac, man.
It's called Quarantunes too, like that. Quarantunes. So yeah, a little everything on here. We got some pop
Fuck yeah.
gems sprinkled in too, with a little Lizzo and Justin Timberlake, and we got some Billie Eilish, my girl, Billie Eilish, Lil Wayne, and then you got like Tame Impala, War on Drugs, like I said, some Smiths. So yeah, a little bit of everything. There's a
Good mix, man.
3-hour
Good
mix. So nice that everyone's cranking these out, nice and hefty mixes. A little Bronski beat at the end.
Ooh, I love that. They
Church.
have a couple good songs.
So yeah, thank you so much, Charm Girl 13, and we'll put, like I said, we'll put these in the Facebook thread so others can check out. As far as playlist too, our friend Coulter also had not
Coulter.
sent this in for this actually, but he sent me just a quarantine mix when all this started going down, and it was just a really solid. It was on Apple playlist there, and it's just like a really solid Smiths, Morrissey, and Cure play mix of just really good songs. Like it starts out, you know, like with the obvious in the moment kind of like 100 years and it can never be the same, which is kind of the underrated Cure jam that fits all this madness. The new tune, it can never be the same. So yeah, shout out to Calder for just a great play mix during this crazy times.
Coulter needs to listen to some peppy jams, maybe. But
Yeah.
Coulter's
Got,
going
like,
deep, brother.
Cemetery Gates and stuff's on there. It's good. JRack123 wrote in The Cure all day, every day. The Head on the Door Deluxe Edition in particular, but also a lot of Blood Flowers, Pornography, Faith, and live concert footage, actually. Let's face it, Robert Smith makes everything better.
Yeah.
So, going back to that,
Totally.
the official comfort blanket and all this is Robert, I think, with his sweater. On the Facebook thread, we had a few quickie comments too. Chip wrote in Rush. He's actually been getting into Rush, going back to the idea of picking a project. He said, I went through all the albums, including the 90s and 2000s that I'd never heard.
Fucking Christ.
And I actually found 2 songs that I'd never heard that are now my favorites, my now forever favorites, including the final song on the final Rush studio album, The Garden. So
You had to dig deep for those 2 songs,
yeah,
brother. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know.
Was it worth it?
I'm not a Rush dude by any means, but I'm pretty sure
It's like-
the later Rush wouldn't be where I start. But good on you for picking a project and digging in.
you did
So,
it.
man.
Yeah. I'm a drummer.
Yeah, you gotta have some Rush love then, right?
Not really.
No. Oh, wow.
Well, guys are fucking robot, but they have a couple.
Yeah.
They have a couple jams. Like I'll give them that. Like, but goddamn, man, that's a lot to listen to. Like,
Yeah, it seems like that's it. Yeah. Even not being super familiar, I could tell that's quite a feat.
Yeah.
Jeff wrote on there, he's been digging Def Leppard, The Cult, and Sisters of Mercy. So, yeah.
What?
A little different there.
Leopard in there.
Haven't heard those. Jerry Goldwyn wrote Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, which surprisingly comes up. I never knew the common thread there of such like diehard Nick Cave and the Cure fans are really
Just moody, like
but-
frontmen that like, really draw your eye.
Yeah,
Like,
it totally makes sense. But for some reason, I never
It's like-
made the connection that there'd be that much crossover prior to starting this
Yeah.
podcast. So it's pretty
yeah, like we hear a lot of that, but like, I don't know, man. Good.
good.
Like,
Pedro wrote Tim Burgess's new album. It actually cites The Cure's Pornography in it. So I feel like I should
Jesus.
know who Tim Burgess is. Is that?
I've never heard that name.
Okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna feel dumb when I look it up, but just wrote that down right before we started this here, so I haven't had time to investigate. But apparently, the new album has a reference to pornography in it, so that's pretty cool. So look forward to digging that up, and yeah,
Pretty sweet.
so that's pretty much the end of the list there. I asked my brother, Owen, what he's been digging. He was kind of like Don, where he said he's strangely weirder stuff. Like he's usually like a huge Kieran Smith's kind of dude, but like he's always had a huge reggae love, and
Yeah, dude.
so he says even reggae isn't really positive enough lately. He's been,
Oh, no.
yeah, that was kind of sad to hear. He's like he's still been listening to tons of Peter Tosh, but like he's found an odd couple of moments where he puts on A Bridge Too Far, the war movie soundtrack on vinyl, and then I don't know what it is, but it's some like gets him pumped up in the mornings apparently for battle or something. But
So that's so Samoan shit.
yeah, totally. That probably makes no sense to anybody else out there. But if you knew Owen, that would totally make sense. He has like the full uniform on while he's working from home. He's just like wearing like a correct, totally accurate, British paratrooper uniform while listening to A Bridge Too Far.
On vinyl.
So that's about all.
Shout out
our-
to Owen though.
Yeah, shout out to Owen and keeping saying and all this. He's doing a great job. So. And in conclusion, I guess we got a few from Chaz, but were there any podcasts that you've been listening to, Donald, that you can recommend to people that are...
Don't judge me. But I listen to I'm a man of routines, and I listen to Adam Carolla's podcast every morning
Okay.
because and he says some dumb shit and I don't agree with it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's something that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Like listening, like Gavin and I lived around like DC, and we'd listen like Loveline
Yeah, that shit
on
was
WHFS.
Yeah.
And I'd stay up and listen to it,
Yeah.
And I'm an auditory being, and like voices and just stuff like really calms me down, and for some reason just hearing them every morning just kind of like, all right, and like getting ready for work and like making coffee and eating breakfast, and I'll like listen to his podcast. And then Your Mom's House
Yeah.
with Christina P and Tom Segura, and like they're fucking just hilarious. And The Dollop
Yeah.
is a really good one. They're just like, these dudes are fucking hilarious, and like
Yeah, I've been needing some
go-tos.
new
And
ones.
I listen to like a million podcasts. I'm not going to go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
I usually
like,
pop around based on who's on it and stuff. I'm still kind of big on that, where it's like a lot of the interview
Yeah.
ones and stuff. I'll only really listen if I like the person, So, yeah, actually, that one you had sent me where he goes through the Rolling Stone top 500 albums or something. I think it's called.
Oh,
It's
that dude.
Yeah, that one's really
I can't remember
good.
his name.
I think it's just called Top 500 or something, maybe, or something. But if you punch
he
in
has a
like
real
500
gravelly voice, and it guy's fits.
Yeah.
Like that's a really good podcast too. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you like the artist or you're curious about the album they're talking about, it's good.
Yeah.
But they really just, they never totally dig in, but at the same time, it's like it's just a good review, and hearing about stuff's really cool.
Yeah,
So
and
it's,
just people's take on it.
and fairly positive too. I haven't heard any where he totally shits on an album, but it's very, which but I mean, it doesn't seem like he's just being positive for the sake of it. He's being honest, but at the same time, he's
Yeah.
very open-minded, and I like that. He picks a host or a comedian that's a co-host with him that actually does like the band, so it's not just like two people that have never heard it before kind of
Yeah,
thing.
they're
So
just
it's
bringing like
good.
a random guest, kind of like our podcast.
Was it
today.
Margaret Cho that does The Cure?
Yeah.
On they do Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
So all the Cure listeners out there's a Boys Don't Cry. That's the one Donald sent me initially, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole, pulling a few others out that are really good. And it's gonna take forever for them to go down the list. So
I
it's
know.
kinda
I love that.
cool to see where it comes. And there's so few good music ones. That's why I feel like
Right.
I just like bounce around and I find like a few that are cool. And I found a cool one. Then I think I sent you one link, but I want to recommend it again to Donald and everyone out there. It's called the Trap Set. I didn't even realize it's all like initially start out where he's interviewing drummers. I didn't realize because I was
What?
bouncing around, and that was like
No one
the
listens to
budgie
drummers. God damn it.
yeah,
What the
exactly.
fuck?
So it's like the Trap Set with Joe Wong, and he does like a lot of musical scoring and stuff. And it's like Budgie from Susie had a really good one on there.
Yo.
And there's an early one with Lowell where he kind of just was going on the book tour, so it's a lot of the same, book tour stuff we've heard a bunch at this point, but still cool. interview, and now he's kind of just, I don't know if it was just because of the quarantine stuff more, but he's kind of branching out. There's like an interview with Mac from Superchunk and stuff, and he's just talking about Merge and all the coolness with Superchunk.
I'm gonna check that shit out.
Yeah, it's really good. You know, just kind of, you have to kind of look at, because it is usually the drummers where you don't realize their name maybe, and you see what the band is, and you're like, oh yeah, I love the drummer for Yola Tango and stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yola Tango's the shit too.
So yeah, one last podcast too, which you'll make fun of me for, but it's a Star Wars one, and it's but it's Scott, who's been a friend of the show and contributed a few times, and I kind of was checking out. He's got a few of them going where he does Nerd Tunes and a few other ones that's really cool to check out. Dude. Yeah, and he's got a regular one that I've just like, I don't know, it's something about like the whole craziness going on in the world, and where else can no better place to escape to than a galaxy far, far away, you know? And it's like, but yeah, I mean, it's tough because there's like 6 of them, I think. So it took me a little while to like kind of sort all the voices out, you know, sometimes when there's a lot of people on a podcast, But yeah, I've been totally loving their podcast. It's called Sarlacc Digest, you know, like the Sarlacc pit, you know. But it's awesome, and they've been really getting into like, they do it live on YouTube and stuff. So that was kind of cool, just like watching it in real time. And then like, you know, it's on the West Coast, so I usually have to duck out before the end there. But then you just catch the end of the podcast when they put the file out. But yeah, it's really cool. I recommend if you are any kind of Star Wars nerd out there, then that's a good one.
I don't think we have any fans that are nerds. I just want to.
We're all
really convinced we don't have any nerd fans.
Just me and Scott, huh? The only 2 Cure fans. Either way, that's a good one to check out, and we'll put links to all those in there too. But I guess that about wraps this up. Hopefully everybody will be able to jot a few of these down at least, and get some good music going in their life. And if you missed the boat on this, no worries. Go on over to Facebook and drop your favorite jams that you've been listening to, and
post
into
like
the
a little
obvious
playlist. Like,
I'm sure you got it.
We are our best resources. In these trying times during the COVID-19, like these unprecedented times, like fuck, man, listen to some music. I want to hear some new shit a little bit, like see what's up, see what's out there. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I can go somewhere like auditory style. You know,
in my mind,
yeah.
And as some of you may have noticed, we're going to leave you on this note that we are giving Donald a break because apparently the Cure album isn't going to be back anytime soon. So our buddy Elon hooked us up this week, and we sent 2 unknowing astronauts into space this week. And they're going to take Donald's place for a little while so he can come down here to Earth and experience all the magic that is America right now.
Like,
and,
I told those
dudes, it's good to have you back, Donald.
Don't smoke all my space weed. Don't eat my fucking space potatoes. Like, don't touch my fucking, like, the 3 records I listen to. Like, don't touch my stuff.
Cassettes.
Yeah, like, don't touch my stuff. Like,
your South Park VHS.
God damn it, I'm so. And Earth sucks shit right now. Like, I'd rather be back on the moon.
You picked a great time to come back.
It's fucking like, you know, it's like, I kind of came back and left during this COVID shit. They're gonna get the COVID shit because I hope
they don't leave it in your space house, your moon house up there. Did you leave the key for him under the mat on the moon?
It floated away, bro. I have no idea how they're going to get in.
Oh, boy. Well.
But, yeah, Earth is whack right now, man. Like, it's like I came back to all this, like, fucking terrible racist shit. Like, fucking hell.
Pick the worst time to come back. Dude.
Every time, dude.
Every time you come back, something horrible happens.
I really just need to stay on the moon, dude.
Yeah. You just... bad luck, man.
I know. I'm
black
sorry,
cloud. Well, until then, we'll wish those 2 fine astronauts luck up there, the moon and SpaceX and NASA. Whatever.
The International Space Station is going to be full of COVID, but until then.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for everybody that's contributed, and enjoy some of those tunes.
Love it.
Take care and talk hard.
Talk hard. Love y'all.
Thanks for listening, everybody. There you go.
All right, there you go indeed. Thanks so much, Donald and Chaz and everyone that contributed on this episode. It was really sweet and awesome to hear from you in whatever format and share what you've been listening. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. And, you know, ran a little long, but hopefully you got some good notes taken and have some bands to check out. Before I totally wrap up, though, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but before I wrap up, we did get one last email right after the bell rang, but we don't acknowledge tardies here on the Holy Hour podcast. This was an email from Bart from the Netherlands, and he wrote us a nice email. I want to read it for you guys. It says, as for music, the majority has been The Cure. Somewhere around early March, I got into a bit of a Cure obsession after not having listened to them much since last summer. I don't really remember what had started it, but it also led me to finding the podcast around that time. For a good number of weeks, I really listened to nothing else. I've only really become a fan of the band about 2 years ago, and there was, and is, still a bunch of stuff I wasn't too familiar with. It's definitely exciting to have such a large catalog of music to explore from a band that you already know are one of your all-time favorites. Some of the albums I've been listening to the most are actually the new live albums, Anniversary and Curation 25. Just a bunch of great recordings and great songs. I guess these past 2 years have really been a good time to start being a Cure fan. There's a lot of other bands that I love besides The Cure, but most of them haven't gotten a lot of attention in the past months because of this Cure obsession. One that I did really get back into recently is the UK band Drenge. They've been going for about 8 years and released their third album last year, which I really like. They've gone from a garage punk and grunge sound to a more varied style, incorporating some new wave and post-punk too. The past week or so, I've really been into their second album, Undertow. It's great stuff. I guess I can also hear some doomy and gothy elements in some of their songs too. I've also been revisiting my Radiohead albums again for the first time in a while. Another one of my all-time favorite bands, but I know you guys aren't that into them. And finally, I've also been listening to some Beach House, who are actually big Cure fans as well. Their favorite songs are Plain Song and Catch, as I've been told on a Reddit AMA. I can definitely hear the influence of The Cure on some of their stuff too, especially in the later albums. Anyway, thanks a lot for doing the podcast, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming episodes. It's definitely been one of the most entertaining things for me in the past 3 months. Bart. Thanks so much, Bart, and I really appreciate you writing in, and glad we were able to still squeeze in this email. Sorry we couldn't get Donald's response, but I'm sure he would approve of all your selections there, and so glad that we could help out in this time of madness and have something for you to listen to too. So thank you for all the kind words with the podcast. So we're gonna wrap up. Tim Burgess that I was trying to remember when we recorded that. Charlatans, the former singer of the Charlatans UK or Charlatans. Donald should have got that one. Oh well. So yeah, not much on top there. We just want to leave you with, please check out the Facebook page for the Holy Hour podcast. This episode in particular, I'm going to try to make a giant mix of everything everybody mentioned here. I'll try to group them together by the different people's suggestions. So yeah, if you something perked your ears up that we mentioned, go on over to the Facebook page and check it out. We'll get you some links and send you further down the rabbit hole. Instagram, we got the Holy Hour podcast on there where you can keep tabs on pretty much everything there. So make sure you follow us on the Instagram page and the YouTube page. Go on over there, check out all those old episodes that aren't quite back in the feed yet. Everything 1 to episode 138 or whatever we're up to now is all on YouTube. Punch that like button and subscribe down below, as the kids say. And if you want to get in touch with me, gavinconnor@gmail.com. You can just write me an email directly, and I'll be glad to get back to you. And otherwise, subscribe on Apple if you don't want to miss an episode. We're going to keep things rolling here. And again, hope everybody's doing good out there and being safe. And until next time, be kind.